Thank you, live feed. Mr. Metric, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Weisford?
Here.
Mr. Wegrick? He's absent. Mr. Cilio?
Present by phone.
Ms. Richmond?
Here.
Ms. Fortner?
Here.
Ms. Moffett is absent. President Mutrick?
Present.
Mayor Grady?
Present. All right. Mr. Metric, I guess we have a presentation from some of our summer interns.
Yeah, I'm going to just hand it off to Matt West. Our two interns this year have been a wonderful addition to the borough's workforce. Has provided so much valuable information that's going to help us today, tomorrow, this month, and next year. And I'm really appreciate the foundation that they've helped lay for the borough's geographic information system. So just want to take this opportunity to thank Matt and Lauren for your work these past few months. It's really greatly appreciated. Thank you.
So let me introduce for a little bit. I don't have anything to add to that. Thank you. Did I forward you my speech or something? I just wanted to take a minute to talk about where this fits into the bigger picture, right? And so this is one little project of the bigger picture of the plan for using data and using data-driven decision-making for the future of Narberth. The past 9 months, we've been working on overhauling the office. One of the biggest successes that we've had so far is a network. We actually have a true computer network, right? One of the things that is a result of that is a true wireless network. So those of you with mobile devices can now connect in this room to a brand new 5G ready wireless network. And that network is Narberth_guest, and the password is 610-664-2840. Make it easy. The other thing that links into that is website, which I'm hoping to present at next month's Caucus meeting, and GIS, and the use of GIS. And the two are interconnected. The two feed off of each other. And so tonight I wanted to take time to really showcase the work of our amazing summer interns who seriously have been a really great fit in the office. They've done stellar work, and you'll see that tonight. And I just wanted to introduce them to you tonight. A recent graduate from Temple University, Lauren Foltz.
Hello.
And a recent graduate in the master's program in planning from the University of Pennsylvania, Matt Zapson. And so I've asked them to come tonight and show you what they did this summer. You might have seen Lauren and Matt outside, Lauren with her baseball cap with a GPS unit on the bill. They did an amazing job with collecting data, organizing data, and getting it to a point that is going to really enable the office to begin to make better decision making. So with that, Matt and Lauren.
Thank you.
The suspense is killing us.
Were you able to turn?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thank God.
What's the GPS phone number again?
Wireless.
Or the wireless?
Password 610-664-2840.
That's on.
Yep.
Well, good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm Matt Zabson.
I'm Lauren Foltz.
For the past 3 months or so, we've worked in Narberth as the summer GIS mapping interns. We've created a number of products and worked on a number of projects that allow us to inventory the location and the condition of the borough's infrastructure, analyze data, and make better decisions.
Can I ask that you start by explaining what GIS is for lay people?
We're going to get right to that, actually. Thank you for asking. So we're going to talk about a few things tonight. First, as you suggested, we'll talk about GIS and digitization. Lauren will introduce these concepts and why they're important for good governance. Then I will talk about our personal workflow this summer, how we got information from on the ground to at your fingertips. Then we'll take a look at 4 different maps that we worked on this summer. And finally, Lauren, who's going to be staying on for the next couple of months with more GIS work, we'll talk about lessons learned and the next steps we're going to take.
Okay, so as you suggested, I'm going to talk about what GIS is. GIS stands for, Geographic Information Systems. And that is a compilation of computer-based mapping tools and programs which allow us to organize, edit, analyze geographic information, and stores other forms of information associated with geographic and physical features. So as you can see in this diagram, what would happen is you would go out in the real world and collect data, which then you would compile into ArcMap, which is what we used. So you have all of these different layers of what you observed in the real world that you can then analyze and make assumptions in the real world. So why is digitization important? This allows decision makers to identify strengths and weaknesses within the system, allocate funding and resources more appropriately, monitor and adjust programs and policies, and better disseminate information and communicate with the public. Plus, it saves the borough time and space, which is very important.
Thank you, Lauren. So that's a great overview of what GIS and digitization means for the borough. We had a very specific sort of workflow over the summer, working on a number of different products. The first step you need to do is collect your data. So we collected data in a number of ways. First, we did field collection. So as Matt mentioned before, you may have seen Lauren or I out walking around with our iPad collecting location and conditions of different pieces of infrastructure. We digitized paper maps. There are 3 rolled up sewer shed maps actually back there on old parchment, very old. They're Prohibition era maps. The data or the drawings on them are fading, so it's important to digitize these kind of maps to preserve them. And finally, we had our crack team of data sleuths go out and collect data from different departments of government, from the county, from the state, and also pull from existing data sources that we already had. So we took all this data and compiled it into the borough office through digitization. So digitization means we made digital representations and records of these real-life things. Once it was in the computer, we used the program ArcMap to edit, to analyze, and to process this data. Once we did that, we uploaded it to ArcGIS Online. The borough has its own private web server for mapping specifically. It's a place where the parts of the map, the different layers of the map, can live and be accessed by a borough employee from anywhere with an internet connection. Once there, we processed them further and really polished them, made them into attractive products, and published them. So what that means is anyone with an internet access can go home and look at the maps themselves. And what we want to do, the next step, really is to make it an interactive process. So that way, not only are you looking at the maps, you can add data to the maps yourself. We'll talk a little bit more about that later with permitting, but there's a lot of opportunity within interactive mapping. So this summer we digitized parking meters, zones and parking ticket data. We collected literally all of the public signage in the entire borough. We digitized storm sewer systems and watershed, as I mentioned before. And we also gathered land use and parcel-based information. So without further ado, we'll present to you the actual maps that we've created.
Okay, so the first map we are going to look at is the parking ticket data map. As you can see here, the red areas, it's a little bit hard to see, bear with me. The red areas are 2-hour parking, so these streets are all 2-hour parking. And then we have blue lines underneath these meters, that's what those points are, and that is metered parking. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see. This was the first project we went out and collected data for, and it was right around the time that Pokemon Go became popular. So everyone was asking me what I was doing, and I was catching, I was like, I'm catching meters.
How many Pokeballs did you use to catch them?
So, if you click on one of these meters, we collaborated with Robin, our parking enforcement officer, and we decided what attributes we should look for when we're looking at a meter. So, again, I know it's a little bit hard to read, but we have the meter number, whether it's digital or analog, if it's a double meter or a single meter. We have whether it has a weights and measures tag or an hours tag, which is something that we would have thought of on our own. And we also have pictures of the meters that will pop up in the webpage, as you can see here. And this is useful if there's a meter that everyone is getting stuck on and they're like, we don't understand why this meter isn't working. You can look at this picture and see, is there any sort of damage? Is it, I don't know, does it have graffiti or something on it? And then with this parking meter data, we were also able to
Doesn't with the parking meter authority like update that clip if there was a road meter,
Yeah, that would be
document it right
better.
away and it would go there.
it would automatically update digitally.
Right. One of the nice things about having this information on this server that I mentioned before is that you don't need to get, the borough laptop to change things. And you don't need to say, hey, Matt, I borrow the laptop, I need to change the database that this is stored in. Robin could, potentially go on the ArcGIS online and say, E161 is broken now. We need to fix that.
Yeah, the idea was to build the infrastructure for it, and to help us then build a maintenance policy out of it, to enact, to the public works folks, as well as Robin, to identify issues, identify the problems, rectify it, and document it, and have that information easily accessible.
Okay, and also with that information, you were able to attach ticket data information. So I'll turn that on to right now. Let me zoom out a bit. So as you can see, the darker areas are the more frequent tickets. So the parking lot right here, of course, has quite a few tickets.
That's near the train station.
That's the municipal law.
Yeah, the municipal lot.
So people just leave their cars there and walk.
Yeah, basically.
Well, or because of the density and number of cars, your parking enforcement
Right.
officer tends to use that area because it's more opportunity to move the parking along, more spots in a shorter amount of time. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it's interesting.
And you can see there, that's just kind of density. If we move out here, I can then show you the density also for parking zones, which we were able to gather. So these are
Nice.
So you can see at the bottom here the frequency. I can't really see it from here, my eyes are kind of bad.
The one I don't know.
Yeah.
Collision care.
That's interesting.
And this is also very useful for parking studies or anything the borough might need to know. And we'll move along here to the signage map. And this is all of the signs in the borough. So let me, this stuff, that shows you what each symbol means. We have SEPTA signs, street signs, parking, traffic signs, all the signs.
That heat map that you showed, that is an import of a snapshot in time. That's
Yeah.
exported from the parking control system, is that right?
Yeah, it's taking data that's collected from our parking enforcement app, exported out, joined,
Right.
you know, that's the tabular data that's joined to geographic data.
Right, so I could create, say, an animation of month by month.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
That's
cool.
what we're trying to
Okay.
move towards, is to see, you know, specific time. You know, this was just a snapshot to show you what's
Yeah, the
possible.
demonstration, right.
But really, you know, sound decision-making is gonna be what is the trend over time? And there's a million ways that you can design it on how you want to look at those trends as well. You know, specify the time frames, you want it by month, by week, by day, you know? Really neat stuff.
Great.
Okay, so these are the signs, and this is useful if, say, you're looking at the density and you're curious as to whether maybe we haven't signed this area properly, or the signs are damaged, and that's why people are parking there without knowing. And so if you just click on one of these, it'll tell you what kind of sign it is and what it's mounted on. And then we also have images for those.
Is it every sign in the borough?
Yeah, every sign. So, you know, you can look at the signs and decide, okay, well, it's not faded, it's not damaged. Obviously, people are just not listening to the signage. With that, if there's no questions about this map.
And just, you know, another point to illustrate with this exercise is not just the enforcement part of it, but again, the management of our infrastructure. You know, when someone calls, oh, we need a sign at, pick a place here. Well, let's look at the inventory. Let's see if there was one at one point. If not, let's install one, come up with a tracking system of that sign, and, you know, push this to our public works folks. They have access to it when they're out making any changes to the signs, updates to the signs, adding a new sign, removing a sign, update it on the fly. You know, so it's really for a resource management standpoint as well.
So the public works guy will take a picture of the new installation?
Correct.
Goes up, uploads a new?
Correct.
Is there a, like a track change history on
Oh,
all
yeah.
of these websites?
Yes.
So you could look back.
Yes.
How many different categories of signs are there in the borough?
We documented 4. So some of the signs we put into categories, so say like traffic signs, that would be stop signs, speed signs, like
One-way
one-way.
arrows.
Yep, yeah. So there's a lot of signs, but we figured it'd be easier if we just put them into categories, so you know where to look for each one.
The next product that we'd like to show you is this sewer shed. Yes, is the sewer shed map. So as I mentioned, we took pictures, digital photography of the very old sewer shed maps, Prohibition era maps, and uploaded those photos into the computer. Then we used something called georeferencing, which allows you to kind of stretch the maps so that they fit a true geographic plane. It also allows you to stitch the 3 maps together. So what we have on this, in this representation, is sewer sheds, storm sewer pipes, which are the yellow lines, they're a little hard to see. And then also storm sewer inlets and manholes. For each of these different types of features, we also recorded some information. So on the map, there were records of capacity for each of these storm sewer sheds, as well as pipe width for the actual pipes. And this is going to be really useful next year when the borough has to undertake a municipal separated stormwater sewer survey.
MS4.
MS4, yeah. Well, everybody knows what I'm talking an MS4 survey. This is a really great preliminary setup. The borough engineers can take a look at this and say, okay, this is what we're working with. A lot of this data, again, has to be validated in the field, but it's a good starting point, and it's a combination of understanding from a systems standpoint what is going on in the borough, and as Matt mentioned before, resource management as well. Actually having a digital record of where all the storm sewer inlets are.
Matt, with C-Click Fix, it was very straightforward to export, say, everything in the category of flooding, and then overlay it on top of this map. So that if people see flooding in their neighborhood or a storm, they can take that picture, they can C-Click Fix it as geotag, and then very quickly you can at a glance see 6 months of complaints.
In theory, yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and that sort of interactivity is a great, great headway into the next map that we're going to show you. So as Matt mentioned earlier, next month he's going to be introducing the website. This is a sneak preview. Don't tell anybody that I showed this to you yet. One of the cool features on the map is on the website will be a map. So you go up to information and click on maps, and you'll have the official borough map. So this map provides a lot of information to the public. The first thing you can see,
There's C-Click Fix.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, so C-Click Fix is here, the borough calendar is here, right. There's a lot of great things on this website, actually. But yeah, so with the map, one of the first things you can do is click on a parcel, any parcel you want. You can find out the parcel ID number, which is how we record information. You can find your zoning, your approximate acreage, and also whether or not you're in a floodplain. Using this layer list, you'd be able to turn on and off different layers. Here's the actual 100-year floodplain within Narberth. We also have snow routes, so you know if there's a snow emergency, whether you have to move your car. We have the parking zones that Lauren showed us earlier, so you're having company over for a party, you can tell them don't park on Windsor, this block is metered. And finally, we also have zoning, so it's beyond just parcel based. You can actually take a look at the zoning map. It used to be if you want to know what the zoning in your neighborhood was, you'd have to come down to the borough office, ask Matt to pull it out, and you'd be looking through file cabinets down in the office. Now it'll be all on your computer with a handy legend so you know what each of the different zones represents.
Just thinking about, I got excited about one application would be, say, for 2-hour snow routes, is that if you have a map of residential emails, and they're all geolocated, my email is, would be linked with North Narberth Avenue and Windsor Avenue, so then I might get an email if there's a snow event, because I live on a street with a 2-hour route. So only people who live in those places or something would get.
Great idea.
Would get that email.
Or text.
Or text.
Or Facebook
Or
message.
text, or whatever you think of next.
Right,
there,
it
yeah.
becomes very complex.
A message and a ball of putty.
The different ways people like to be contacted.
Yeah, whatever it is. I'm just catching up to email.
No, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, so the idea behind this, if you don't mind me interjecting here, this infrastructure that we built here, the skeleton of this online map, the ultimate goal is to use that parcel database as the mechanism in which the office interacts with properties as well as the public, with the ultimate goal of taking every single building permit that has been applied for, that has been issued both currently as well as historically, scanned and linked to those parcels as well. So you can query your address, zoom into your address, select your parcel, see all of the building permits, anything that has been attributed to that property. That's what that is ultimate goal. That's not going to happen next week. This is just, to give you some, long-term thinking as to that's the eventual goal of this application.
Yeah, it would be more of a two-way channel. Right now, it's sort of a one-way channel. We're receiving a lot of information from the map, but you'll be able to, submit your permits, see where they are along in the process, and there's lots of other innovative ways that we can interact with the map, which a lot of you have already suggested actually, which is terrific.
obviously want to verify the storm sewer map because it is, as Matt was saying, very old. And we got it digitally down, but it's still not verified. And we'd like to continue to update maps as new information comes along, things in the Borough change. And as Matt West was saying, we would consider professionally contracting someone to have permits, like you see in the trail map, and show what stage in the process they're in and everything like that. Have emails go to you so you know what's happening with your permit. That's just a little bit out of our scope for the summer project. And in the next few weeks, I'm going to be working on a sanitary sewer map, so I'll still be in the borough for a little while. I'm going to be geo-referencing the same sort of thing we did with the storm sewer shed. So we go on to lessons learned. It's very important to maintain organized and up-to-date data, which we have learned because if you are analyzing data, you want to make sure you're using the most up-to-date version of it. Otherwise, the process is kind of a moot point. And it's also very important to communicate with the team members. When we first started on this project, Sean and Matt sat us down and told us exactly what they wanted to see done, and we hope that we have completed all of that. And obviously, paying attention to detail is very important when mapping. And we also had to really consider who will be interacting with the maps. So the parcel data had a lot of attributes, a lot of things that people would not want others to know about their properties, like the name of who owns it and everything like that. So we had to kind of whittle it down to just what's useful for the public, but not giving away too much information. But it's also information that the borough needs in order to have the permitting process be completely online. And with that,
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
You know what, I don't expect the two of you to stay for the whole meeting, and there's a couple members of the public here, if you have some questions for interns that you don't want to save until the public comment period, I would entertain them now.
I just wanted to say that it's great what you've been doing, and do you know what the maps on the Friends of Narberth History website? They have, you see these old maps, they have old maps, and what they want to do eventually is you could click, either put in your address or click on a location, and if they had old photographs, they would pop up for that property.
Right.
But they have some, really interesting old maps on there. It might be good to link to their website somehow, like for historical information. And also, I just recently updated I'd written a report a couple of years ago about the environment of Narberth, and I have some of the same information in my report. We're still waiting for it to get up on the web, but it would be good if you could link to that too once eventually it's up. And I do have like a sewer shed map in mind that I had gotten from Lower Marion. And here's, I don't know, you have to look at it, maybe I could link parts of our report to that web, those web pages and vice versa.
Yeah, the answer is that it's just gonna continue to get easier and easier for us to link to things, to make timely updates to the website, get things much more interactive than they have been.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be here before you know it. So yes, sounds good.
Yeah. Good.
Sure, Jen?
I apologize if you already answered this. This is fantastic, not that I understand it all, but it's really cool. Does this clarify property boundaries?
Yes, in the parcel map,
Yeah.
you'll be able to see exactly your parcel.
I will say that it's representative, so, if you're really trying to figure out where your lot is, you want to look at the lot plats. This is more a representational image, but it does give you a good idea.
Yeah, so we don't maintain property data at the borough level, that's a county function.
Oh, okay.
So this is the county's parcel data, so it's as good as the county property records is. So I would hope it would be pretty good, but again, if you're looking at, trying to really define your property line, say for a fence or for an addition, we strongly encourage you to hire a surveyor to make sure that it is accurately mapped out in reality. But it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Interesting, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Ruffo?
on those parcel maps, did it show the buildings on there, or did it just show the outlines of the properties?
I don't think it had it in this iteration of the map, but we do have the building footprints, yes.
The reason I ask is I've been trying to put together a map of the downtown businesses for shoppers to use, so they could look at the map and be like, oh, what's here? And so if the buildings were on there, it might make it easier for me to create a map that labels them, as opposed to just the property outline.
Right. Yeah, we have that information. I think that's a really good idea. Is there, what's the?
Anyone else from the phone? Sorry. Okay, Councilman.
What's the limitation? I have two questions. One is like how many layers? Like what's the limitation to the number of layers you can have? Because like I heard already 4 suggestions that would add another layer, and it sounds like they would be amazing. All those ideas would add interesting layers.
Add as many layers as you want. You can turn them off, you can turn them on. You don't have to have all of them running at once, obviously, because that would be cluttered. But you can put as many layers as you'd like on the map.
Yeah, technically, there's an infinite number. I mean,
Mhm.
you can add as many as you want, but then it becomes a question of how many layers should you have on the map, right? The legibility part of it. So this is a great start. The idea, if we wanted to start expanding into looking at different things, historical maps, those sorts of things, I might even explore adding another widget inside of the website that would just be for historical maps. Because that's a whole different thing compared to what's in reality, and have like a series of interactive maps.
I gotcha.
Several ways you can do it.
And then my second question is who's that organization that's maintaining the cloud for the ARC cloud? And like is that, who does that? Is that Google or
No,
is it a
it's
special organization?
It's ESRI.
Who are they?
It's a privately owned company that creates and publishes the ArcGIS platform. It's the most popular GIS platform arguably in the world. It's very popular, supported, not going anywhere.
And would we buy a subscription or something?
So that's included as part of our license that we have in the office. When you buy a full standalone license for the software, this is one of the perks that you get. Interestingly enough, a representative from ESRI, actually, I believe he just moved, was a resident of Narberth. And he and I had a really good sit down talking about the interactivity of municipal GIS, and has been helping us out too in talking about how we want to craft this in the future. So it's good stuff.
Councilor Richmond.
So the information that's stored in the cloud, I would imagine that forever we would need to maintain some sort of payments so that we can always have access to it, especially for recording things that may not last, and we're always going to want.
Yeah, so this is as a part of the license that we purchased. It's a one-time license for ArcMap. With that, you get their cloud for the length of the license, which is you buy it once and that's it.
Right. Eventually you upgrade it, and then you get the license again.
As long as you maintain the license, you're good.
And it's sort of like I hate to say it, but like a backup just in case,
Yeah, so we say, that's a very good question. So all of this data that we serve to the web environment is also saved in-house. We have a database structure that we actually use and maintain. Sometimes it's quicker for us to use that locally on our server than it is to access it via the web. Yes. Everything is built locally first. Once that is finalized, it's then uploaded to the public.
I'm not going out on a limb saying you can import and export this data from ArcGIS at whim in common formats. You're not bound to this vendor. You're not tied in.
Correct.
You could suck data out and stuff it up in Google Maps tomorrow.
Correct. Yep. It just continues to do this over time as well. The interoperability. At one point, way back when I was first learning it, it was very segmented. Like you could only use this product in this software. It's not the case anymore.
And then the other thing would be, just being able to track all the changes so that you can see, you wanted to go back and review, was that a good idea or something to be fixed? And the other thing is if we're gonna look at the parcel map and look at the changes over time, and we also include the zoning for that area and the old borough maps. So if you were going to try to get a sense of a change in an area, there to understand how it all works.
Oh, yeah. Councilor Fortner, any comment?
I can't wait to be able to play with this a little bit and just look at things, as I'm looking at some of my backyard there, dot in it, so I really appreciate all the work everybody did. I trust that, Max has all kinds of great ideas as they were putting it together, so.
I said, this is the foundation.
Yeah, so,
This is-
I know, so I'm sure we're gonna see, this is gonna just cause everybody's thoughts to like, what next can I do? And the thing that occurred to me as I'm listening to all the walking around that you did and looking at stuff, and I'm like, wonder if anybody got that. It's all those signs that no longer exist, but the post was lopped off and it sticks this high up above the sidewalk. Have you guys noticed some of those?
Yeah.
You walk around and you can trip on those, or telephone poles that are almost in the middle of the sidewalk, and so there's no space, it's like, I'm thinking about more data, that I'm like, whoa, there's more data you could collect in here and put in it, so I imagine that's gonna happen over time, we're gonna think of other things that we wanna add to this.
Yeah.
Just have somebody walking around and collecting it, so I can't wait to play with it.
All right.
Following up on Barbara, what Barbara was saying, theoretically, going forward with regard to future refinements, is there a standard that's used to where you say privacy is an issue or not an issue with regard to what you're going to add on to the property? I mean, that seems, I know you decided not to put some pictures on and some other things because you thought that was a privacy infringement. But where does that come from? Is that something, is it a personal decision or is there a standard which is set with regard to how this is done? That you say, no, we don't go there?
Right. That's a really good question. I think we err on the side of caution at this point, just in this iteration.
Oh, I know,
Technically,
you have the base here, but if you continue to add things onto it.
Property records, public knowledge, everything that's on the county system.
I can say, yeah.
Right? So owner name, owner history, all of that stuff, it's public knowledge. Permits, public knowledge. Even when you apply for a permit, it's public knowledge. So those sorts of things, there really aren't any, if we're interacting with it from a public standpoint, it can be improved.
I want to thank you both for
Yeah,
coming
thank
out
you.
tonight and for on some of the hard work. I know that this was one of the goals that we had for this year, was to develop this system, and I'd like to applaud not only Mr. West, but also Mr. Metric in even making it happen and seeing it through and finding creative ways to reallocate dollars. In the budget we passed in December 2015 to make this happen this year and not have to wait a whole other year to build a foundation. Mr. Metric, do you have an idea of what it cost to get us to this point so far?
Yeah, well, at risk of me being accused of paying less than minimum wage, Matt and Lauren were with us 2 days a week for about 18 weeks, and the overall cost right now is about $9,000.
I'm impressed. I think that allowed great data, and I think that by the time we got through the startup meetings with a third-party consultant, we would have spent $9,000. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
We look forward to more. All right, moving on to committee reports. Councilor Cilio, do you have a report for Finance and Administration?
Or Charlie Cillia's unmuting the.
I
can tell you about
did.
his history.
We had, our last, meeting was prior, I think the one prior to the last full council meeting. And we reviewed, some preliminary information, related to the, 2017 budget as well as items on the capital plan. The next meeting is going to be next Monday. I believe, and I've handed over to Sean here on the budget timeline. We're coming up into October, and I think our next task as a committee is going to be the first round review of the draft budget the manager's been preparing. And since Sean's living it minute to minute and day to day, I turn it over to you to get kind of a current timeline on the budget process over the next
Yeah, sure, no problem. Matters Office is focused on developing the preliminary 2017 budget. Right now, it's our main work item, a front burner, front stove issue. We will be presenting a budget to council at our next business meeting, Monday, October 17th. We've been working closely with our borough departments and the fire company to fine tune their 2017 budget request and to also reorganize the entire budget around a more transparent and understandable structure. And at the meeting, council can take the opportunity there to ask questions about the preliminary budget, and if need be, we can meet an executive session on that night to discuss any matters such as personnel or negotiating contracts that we need to discuss. A detailed presentation and adoption of a preliminary budget is going to take place at the business meeting of Borough Council on Monday, November 21st. I'll be leading that presentation where we're going to go through all the details from A to Z of what's in the budget. At that time, the entire budget will be made available to the public. We'll take comment from the public at that meeting, comment at the December caucus meeting, and then comment again at the December business meeting of council, at which time council will have the opportunity to adopt the final budget at that meeting. So that is our timeline.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And I would like to note for the agenda for the next Finance Administration Committee meeting, right before that meeting, a couple of Mondays, we did have some follow-up questions from our last committee meeting for our auditors, our actuaries. I know Sean's been following up on some of those. Because those are going to be more complex and detailed discussions, we probably want to have those in that committee meeting, just so we save time at the general meeting. So to the extent folks are interested in pension obligations and OPEB and things like that, please show up a little early at Monday night. We'll try to talk through some of those things.
Okay.
To the extent we have answers at this point.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to public safety. Councilor Evelyn Moffett is not available, but she did send me a report. Firstly, to thank Ed Ridgway and the Narberth Business Association for putting on the Oktoberfest, which although I heard the weather wasn't 100%, I heard it was a success. Ed?
I'd say so, yeah.
And to remind the public, the reason it's part of public safety is that a portion of the dollars support the Narberth Fire Company, which helps everybody in the communities. There is an upcoming intergovernmental public meeting. This is Gigi putting on her vice president hat. To be held October 18th at 7 p.m. at the Lower Merion Township Building. That is a meeting of representatives from Narberth Borough Council, School Board, and Lower Merion Township Commissioners. And the first meeting was to establish that we would agree to have more meetings, and I believe at this meeting we'll probably be discussing some of the issues regarding the Lower Merion School District. So that's going to move to 4 in the public sphere. October 18th, 7 p.m., Lower Merion Township. As a public service, your state senator Dalen Leach will be co-hosting a pardon and expungement clinic with Lieutenant Governor Mike Stack. And I thought this was all public safety, but sorry, I'm just going to get through it. And Legal Aid of Southeast PA, if anyone is interested, there's a whole long thing here, but just email me and I will get you the information if you would like to find out more for yourself or for a family member or a friend. Legal Aid will be helping people to complete expungement paperwork. That is in public safety. Also, we have the unofficial Narberth scavenger hunt coming. That is on this Saturday night. And the public safety is there's going to be a lot of people crawling around on the streets dressed all crazy and doing all kinds of dastardly deeds. So just be aware, it's like trick-or-treating, come early. And the Civil Service Commission reports it is still waiting on final paperwork regarding the background checks on a number of individuals who are potentially on our civil service list, and they had hoped to have us of this tonight. That did not happen, and they have us something for our business. TBD.
Moving on, public works, public right is absent. Would somebody else like to make a report? I don't have a report filed by Bob. Okay, moving on, property committee. That's before, you met just before this meeting.
Right, we did. Property committee met just before this meeting. We discussed the facility use policy and regulations, the steps for implementing the policy that addresses 100 Conway Avenue, the tasks that the office is going to undertake for that. We also talked a little bit about what the office is going to start doing about recurring users of 100 Conway Avenue and coming to agreements with them. And then we discussed some initial steps that the property committee will take on addressing other borough-owned property as we bring them under this new facility use policy. We also talked about the recreation board. Their first regular meeting is October 26th, and I'm planning to attend that. We're, as a committee, going to put together some guidelines for them that we'll send off to them in advance. And we talked about adding another member to the board, and we'd like to get their input on that, what they think about that. If they think one is the right number, or if they, what do they think?
And right now they have an even number.
Right, exactly.
So that would be the logical next.
Yeah, well, and, yeah. I'm gonna skip a couple things that don't really need to hit everything. I think the big highlight is that the work on this roof is gonna start soon, it sounds like. So that's gonna be very exciting, so this will be done. And we talked about a couple things that we'll include in our discussion of the 2017 budget. So we're ahead to those kinds of things as well.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, building and zoning.
I'm not gonna recap the entire meeting that we held, because I'm under the weather. I'm here for the quorum, for the sake of the quorum.
Much appreciated.
But I would like to say that on October 17th, our next Borough Council meeting, Corey Curtisi will be here from the Pennsylvania Museum Commission to talk to the council and the public about best practices for maintaining our architectural historic buildings within a borough like ours. And I think that he may be presenting a potential relationship that the borough could have with the Museum Commission, working with our planning commission to develop some kind of strategies. Also, I want to say that the Building and Zoning Committee completed a kind of a mechanism, we put in place a mechanism for the ongoing review of the zoning ordinance. And I just wanted to share that with council members how this works. We get from time to time, we get letters of concern or people speaking about concerns they have about the zoning ordinance. Every single one of those concerns will be documented in the words of the resident, and it'll be put on the spreadsheet. It's given a kind of a alphanumeric code that keys it to that person, and then it's categorized either as a zoning issue, a standards issue, a building standards issue, a rules issue, a parking issue. So the full categories of concern. Those are then presented to the planning commission, who can decide they basically discuss kind of triaging those issues. They've done this with a recent batch, and they've decided that some of those issues they'll discuss in the fall of 2016, this fall. Some they're going to discuss in spring of 2017, and some they do not care to amend the code at all at this time. In which case, at least two of the members of the committee feel that at that point, it's fine if that issue comes back onto the list. It can just come back onto the list and be reviewed again in the next spring. So that if any resident has a concern that they want to keep on the list, they can keep it on the list. But then the planning commission will decide if they just, it's not a priority for them to deal with it. I suppose the council can always decide that they wish to choose an issue that the planning commission doesn't want to touch, but we have to wait to see what recommendations they come to us with. So that's in place now, and I kind of think that if that had been in place for the last since 1942, the code might have evolved in a more sympathetic way with the evolution of the town. Because every 6 months, there would have been sort of like people looking at the concerns, the live concerns that people have. And so that's now happening. I'm pleased about that. Okay, finally, like, the final thing is that Mr. Metric has requested a proposal from Yerke's associate for zoning officer services. This is an idea that predates Mr. Metric's time in the borough. It was something that the Building and Zoning Committee has been talking about for many years as the complexity of zoning has grown and the amount of projects that have been happening have really increased exponentially, I think, over the years. It kind of makes sense to look at having a zoning officer that's not conflicted by their other roles within the borough, in part, but also because our borough manager is spending a tremendous amount of time and energy dealing with zoning when, there are things that are more important to. And this is a zoning review and building permit review should be cost neutral. We don't know yet if it is cost neutral right now, but it should be. So we review this proposal for zoning officer assistance. We should understand that it will pay for that through user fees. If a resident applies for a zoning review, there'll be a fee that will cover the services provided by whichever is the third party organization. This proposal, I think we just want to have council members look at it, and I guess it'll be on the table and for discussion.
On the 17th.
On the 17th.
Yeah.
As a motion.
Yes, it would be a resolution if council chooses to appoint a zoning officer.
We can engage professional services without a competitive bidding.
We would also retain the option to terminate or change the service provider.
At will. At will, at any time. They're at will, just like our solicitor or any other professional, like the borough engineer, Pinoni. It's an app. It's a relationship that could be. So, Yerke's is already our building permitting inspector, so they know the borough well. They've worked with us. I read the proposal, and I have a few questions. Do we want to do that at the meeting? No. Yeah.
I mean, we can do that.
Or we want to do it maybe we want to do it after everybody gets a chance to read it.
I think so, because we don't have a full room here, so.
Yeah.
Let's let everybody hear.
So, okay. So that's all for building and zoning.
Well, that's exciting. I'm looking
Okay.
forward to seeing that before.
Okay, great. Our next meeting will be at 6:30. Is the next meeting in the evening? Yes, the next meeting will be in the evening, 6:30 in the evening, I believe on October 23rd. I think that's a Wednesday. October 26th. At 6:30.
Okay. Economic development, Councilor Richmond.
We have the next 3 meetings are set up. They're posted, I think, on the calendar. So, they are the October 12th, November 16th, and December 6th. Everyone wants to. And also, I do want to say that economic development, especially wants to thank Ed for all his hard work. It was really incredible Oktoberfest, and I was happy to volunteer, and lots of other people did too. So it's a great event, and we're looking forward to the next one, Ed.
Thank you. Montgomery Avenue?
Montgomery Avenue has tentative meeting, but I can't, it's not confirmed, so.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on to public comment. To the non-GIS related public comment. Seeing none.
I wasn't sure who was behind me, so
Go
I didn't
ahead,
know.
go ahead.
Couple of things.
You can just name and address, I'm sorry.
Georgia Dubois, 111 Price. A couple months ago, I asked about how there's, about the possibility of looking into getting a stop sign at the corner of Dudley and Price. And I know there's that machine, and I don't know what the correct name is to call that thing that tells people how fast they're going and collects
The Your
speed.
Speed sign. Your Speed sign.
Your speed
That's what
is
it's
sign.
Got it, your speed is sign. So, then I brought it up again in the summer, and we said, it made sense to do it in September. And so I'm just wondering, how do we actually get that to happen at that corner?
I can do that.
I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
just gotta notify Public Works. Here's the location.
Okay, great. And I have a request. I know, I'm not sure who's putting together the agenda, but I see that we no longer, each committee lists the chair but doesn't list the members. And I think it's really helpful for the public to know who the members are. Like, some people come to meetings who won't even know who most of you are, period. And when I'm looking, I'm thinking, oh, okay, so and who else? And I don't have all that memorized. So I'm wondering if you could just continue to add the members.
Mr. Metrick, your thoughts on that?
It wouldn't be a problem.
Done.
Great. And question about Ask Narberth. When I was looking for some information, I saw that the last inquiry up there was from February of 2016, and the previous one was from September 2015. So I'm just wondering if it's inactive, maybe we should say that so people know that there aren't, that there aren't responses, or maybe there've been no questions, but that would seem odd since February. So
Yeah, we're gonna have such a blossoming of public information through our website that I think that platform is no longer gonna be helpful for us to get information out. I think that for the time being, that'll go dormant, and the information that people seek will be available on our new platform, our new website that is gonna go live soon,
So should there be something on that page, should it be taken down, or should it say, if you're here to ask a question, we're not, right, you're not, it's dormant? Just seems kind of odd to have something up there that says, Ask Narberth, and,
Yeah.
We will add some kind of a notice that this is no longer.
yeah, right,
Or
don't
redirect.
ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mr. Ridgway?
When our business owners ask about parking downtown, and we ask them not to have their employees park in these spaces on the main thoroughfares, one of the places we tell them they can park is here in the Borough municipal lot, in the Borough's lot. There's just too many big vehicles back there that don't
There's a
belong
house
there.
there now.
We just gotta make some progress on getting some of those vehicles out of there.
I think that on Ms. Fordner's agenda is evaluating all borough properties, and one of them is the lot on Sabine Avenue, and the other is the lot here. I think that there was maybe a movement to just kind of clear them out, but then, there's a lot of oral agreements that have been made over the years to different individuals. There's a lot of complicated weather scenarios where different people have different expectations, and it turned out to be a little more complex than it originally anticipated to just say, everybody out. I think, Barbara, do you want to speak to that?
We haven't talked about that specifically in the property committee, we have.
No, I know you haven't addressed it yet, but
No, I
it's
think
on the
where
agenda.
it's actually come up now, where I've heard it come up is on the public safety committee, where we've talked about parking issues. And so if the property committee can weigh in on who's parking in there, that will.
I'm not looking for miracles, just some progress.
We'll certainly.
It seems to be getting, staying the same, or maybe even getting worse.
I think we began a discussion with Richard Diaz when he was the chair of the property committee about some kind of permitting, or it may have been in Public Works with Bob Ray, but about some kind of permit for the use of borough municipal lot. It's part of the parking, it's really part of the parking study, the bigger study that we're contracted for.
And one of the things that happened was we passed an ordinance 2-3 years ago prohibiting commercial vehicles over a certain size from parking on the street. And agreements were made at that time, oral agreements, that, well, sure, you can't park that vehicle in front of your house anymore, but you can use the borough lot. And I agree that it is a shrinking communal resource, and we need to do something about it. So I'll tell you what, I will discuss with the different chairs and find the best home for this, and then we'll see how it bubbles up on that individual committee's agenda.
there any chance, sorry, teachers having Hampton, is there any chance of any agreements with like the Citizens Bank lot? I mean, those private lots, people keep kind of eyeing that have a lot of empty spaces? Or would that require borrowed funds? And we don't know?
I think that's part of a different conversation that I believe Councilor Cilio was having when he was on economic development, and that the Borough office was handling in regards to public-private parking partnerships. The surgical office on your.
Yeah, that was in property committee.
And that agreement was pursued in 2015 and never finalized.
Right. The Citizens Bank park lot, I believe they rent their spaces out to the various business owners.
No, it's got chained up, it's been empty for years.
Yeah.
Citizens Bank lot?
Yes,
No, I'm saying, I'm sorry, I switched gears. I believe the Citizens Bank rents spaces to individuals who choose to park there. But we could discuss with them some additional options.
So, can I interject? One of the things that we've been looking at with the parking study, we're in the data collection phase, and as I've been the one charged with collecting the data and providing that to our consultants, one of the data sets they're looking for is both municipal lots as well as private lots. And so I think that that's gonna be covered in that, larger parking study as well.
Okay. Okay. Again, I will follow up with some committee chairs and we'll find a home for the specific issue about the borough lots. And, Ms. Skeen, I think some of the other issues will be addressed as part of the parking study, which we're aiming to have completion of basically summer of, like late spring, early summer of next year. Okay. Anything else? John, anyone in mind?
Well, when you were talking about parking.
Sorry, your name and address?
Oh, Nora DeCristofano.
Nora
DeCristofano.
Thank you.
Oh, 302 Dudley Avenue. So I live obviously I live right across from the apartment building, and I'm just starting to get really frustrated with the people who, live in the apartments and parking, especially when it's gonna snow and, winter time, that they really they park so close to my driveway at the end. So when I'm pulling out, there's also a fence right next to my driveway. It's really hard to see, so maybe have like the sign saying, stop here where you can park, so that it's not literally up against, or maybe I could put put the lines, like the white lines, so that, it stops where they're parking, because, I have a 1-year-old child and it's just kind of like scary backing out of there.
Mayor Grady,
If you let me know, if there's a problem with regard to it, please let me know and take care of it with regard to it. Usually we try to talk to the neighbors, work out a resolution, don't park there, but if they do it again, then we'll take it with the issue.
Okay.
You have my contact information?
Yeah,
Just
I can
send me,
get that.
it's easy enough, just text me, say, Tom, an issue, I'll get right in touch with
Okay.
Sergeant Troy, I'll come out.
Great, thank you. And then there's also, my next door neighbor to the left, they have, the light, the street light has been out for like the whole summer, so I didn't know who to come to talk if I called.
Did you send an email to Leslie Marshall, L Marshall with 2
Okay.
L's, at narberthpa.gov, who'll forward that information
Okay.
to the contractor that replaces bulbs.
Okay.
That's how we.
our streetlights are actually owned and maintained by PICO, and, so we'll give them a little nudge.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Other informational announcements.
If that's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, the parking study, we are scheduling an internal kickoff meeting with staff and the consultant for next week. The first public meeting of the parking study will happen post-data collection, so a little bit of data collection, not the whole thing. Probably the first or maybe second week of November, that will be advertised through our various outlets. I also want to make everyone aware that the end of the year is approaching, and not only are we doing a budget, but some of our terms of our citizens who are serving on our boards and commissions are set to expire at the end of this year. We will announce what those positions are, what the various boards do and what their function is, and solicit applications to fill those vacancies, and council will have an opportunity to make those appointments at the end of this year or first meeting of next year.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Also wanted to point out, we talked about a facilitation, with the Borough Council and the mayor and some, Mr. Metric we're going to, meet about. And, Barbara was kind enough to prepare some additional dates a little later into the fall, and I'm getting some feedback. Not everybody's here tonight, so I'm not comfortable setting a date just yet, but, I think we may have a, meeting, date that works for everybody, so I'm very excited about that. And also wanted to just give council members a heads up, you know, been working with our solicitor, and I think he sent out that memo regarding the meeting policies. And publishing those meetings and when they're gonna be, and where they're gonna be. And I would like everyone to start thinking about 2017 and following his advice. He is our solicitor, and setting up a more fixed meeting schedule for each committee and sticking with it, so that we can be in compliance with his advice. That's all I've got there. I think I read out all of the various things I received from different council members. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
A motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Marlene, all in favor?